5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
How about we do it again?
6, 7, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think I followed it.
Okay, let's try one more
I
time.
definitely.
Ready?
Ranking review. Ranking review. Ranking review.
Say 6,
6,
5,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Greetings and welcome to another amazing edition of Rank and Review. This one particularly special in that we're going to be dipping into the vast world of Star Wars, and that we're going to have our Australian returning guest, Mr. Chris Tomic, which will make it a good episode for everyone. Everybody can enjoy this. Chris knows what he's talking about. He's enthusiastic about the subject. And I myself was a little bit intimidated because we're talking about television instead of movies. And it's kind of harder to box in, 6 or 7 hours of television into a succinct review. Whereas a movie, I can do that. I found myself struggling here. And as I struggled, Mr. Chris Tomic was there to help me. So, yes. How has Disney handled this Star Wars, this transition to television? Has it been good or bad? Are the fans still the problem? Is Disney the problem? Is there a problem? We're going to get into all of it, and I hope you're here and down for that. As usual, you should expect spoilers and coarse language throughout this podcast. As usual, you can find the podcast at ranknreview.ca. As usual, you can send feedback to ranknreview@gmail.com. That's ranknreview@gmail.com. New to the Rank and Review verse, I'm on YouTube now. If you would like to go and check out Rank and Review on YouTube, you can find all of the podcasts there, some isolated reviews, any kind of liking or subscribing or commenting on episodes, giving me your ranks. I will read them, and it will help make my podcast more visible. This is all part of my experiment to try and get Rank and Review on as many different platforms as possible, so people have all sorts of options for which to not listen to the podcast. Tell a friend about Rank and Review. Thank you for your ears. I think I've got all of this introduction out of the way. So, Star Wars, television, Chris Tomic, hosting around Canadian Larry Parsons. Thank you. Let's do it. All right, Chris Tomic from Australia. Once again, on Rank and Review, thank you so much for being here. And it's one of my very special epic Star Wars editions where we dig into it. And typically I don't go into TV series or miniseries or whatever we're calling these streaming Star Wars Disney events. But it is Star Wars. I will make an exception. And Chris, you were just so excited about talking about Andor. I mean, you practically begged me. Yeah, begged me. So
you're not wrong, Larry. Thank you for having me. I basically needed to get this out of my system to talk about Andor to someone, because I've hassled all my friends about it constantly, and I've talked their heads off about it. So I was like, wait a minute, I know someone else who knows about Star Wars. I better harass him.
Well, let's start there. What is your relationship with Star Wars? Like, I grew up with it. I think I'm a little bit older than you are. I was born in the late 70s, but the Orig Tridge is sort of sacred ground for me, which puts me in a weird place in this era of Disney. I want to love Star Wars like I used to, but I kind of can't because I was 8, there's just no bringing that back. What's your relationship with Star Wars, and why are we here today, brother?
Well, I was born in 85, so I missed theatricals of all of that. and I have, although I have never known a universe without, my life has never been without Star Wars.
Lovely.
I was watching it before I was forming memories, essentially. So I definitely am tremendously biased, and because of the age I grew up in, it is watching the original trilogy of VHSs over and over. In fact, I've watched them so much on dodgy VHS that there's a part when Yoda's talking that on my tape went and now when I still hear that line normally, I'm like, that doesn't sound right because it doesn't have the VHS warble in it.
I can weirdly relate to that, man. I had a VHS tape that recorded like Star Trek 2 and 3 back to back on TV, but I had the commercials edited out. And when I watch those movies now, I know where the commercial glitches are supposed to be. Like, I can feel them coming, and even though they're not there anymore. So I get what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, the original trilogy is, like you said, sacred to me. I think, because now, if you say you're a Star Wars fan, you have to qualify with, like, asterisks, right? Because there's been so much of it, a glut of it so much, and there's now tremendous generational differences between Star Wars fans. There's older people like us, we grew up with the originals, that's all we knew, and then we had the prequels are coming out. This is going to be the event of our lives, a new Star Wars, right?
Yeah, alas.
And people of our age, I was 13 when it came out. I was tremendously disappointed with the prequel trilogy. It was one of the biggest letdowns of my life. You know, it was like a change in my psyche.
It was almost like a friend had died, right? Like, it really did feel like...
I've like come to terms with it over the years. I don't think they're good by any measure, but I don't hate it like I used to. But yeah, and I totally understand people who grew up with it being like, oh, this is all Star Wars, you know, it's all the same to them. Their version of what I think this is very specific, like what a Jedi is and the universe is very different from people with the original trilogy, because the original trilogy people had Yoda, Luke, Obi-Wan, and a fallen Jedi Vader, and then the prequel trilogy people had an entire different perspective on all that. And I think you can see very clearly what Star Wars is for the younger people. It's all the Jedi, the Force, lightsaber fights. And then for older people who grew up in that original trilogy, that gritty, there's one Jedi left in the universe, people, and you can see that in the new shows, which are very much generally for the younger prequel generation, I think.
Well, my whole take on it, and I've said it before in my other Star Wars episodes, is like the Tridge, as I call it, A+. Okay? The prequels, I'm sorry, but F. The new Disney trilogy, I controversially give a C. I think because like I wanted to like it so much that I looked past a lot of the shit. But honestly, like Rogue One was the best and only, I think, maybe truly great thing that I'd seen out of Disney. So my passion for the Star Wars was kind of limited. Me and the boys got into the Mandalorian. Of course, everybody was into like Baby Yoda and all of that. It was a big cultural bomb in 2019 when it started, and it had the benefit of newness. But I didn't catch up with all of these series until we did this episode. So this is a lot of content that I'm jamming into my brain. So I'm hoping you're going to help me sort through all of this. But I think that I would love to blame Disney. I would love to get on the bandwagon and say Disney wrecked Star Wars and Disney's too woke and Disney's too that. But I do think Star Wars is a specifically remarkably tough thing, because both you and I used the word sacred when we talked about it, and because there is such a spectrum of fans, there is, I believe, literally no way to please everyone. I do think at some point the fan base is kind of part of the problem, because they want a super dark, super crazy, super edgy Star Wars, but it's still bouncy and fun and for everyone and for the kids, right? And like, they want to hear the backstory of like everything that ever happened on Tatooine and Obi-Wan, but they don't want Star Wars to repeat itself. Like you can't win. I have similar conversations when I talk with my friend Sky about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, they painted themselves a little bit into a corner. I mean, by getting to this corner, they've basically established an entire universe and cornered the market on blockbusters. Like, but they kind of feel like they're cornered by their fans and by the continuity and consistency of their product. Even before I watched these shows, I kind of knew what I was getting, and I kind of wasn't wrong.
Yeah, like you said, the fan base is impossible. It's just impossible to please because everyone gets so much out of it, and everyone gets different things out of it, and we all like different aspects of the Star Wars universe. So Disney has, to some extent, they have the capability to cater, like, this is a show for people who like Jedi. This is a show for people who like backdoor intrigue in the Imperial Security Bureau, right? Yeah, they could do it, but they sometimes the execution is not there to be able. Some of the shows that we'll get into.
It's a huge world, and like as a kid, I would have wanted all of this. And as like that 8-year-old to like 12-year-old in my peak Star Wars fandom, I tell you, I would have been all over all of this. Like, I would not have had my critical eye on. I wouldn't be all adult and cynical about it. I wouldn't sort of. And my God, do I not care about the whole woke political correct angle that this is just in the background of all of the discourse this day. I don't care. I'm sorry that the world's getting gradually more accepting of others. Like, let's just deal with it. But can Star Wars be a playground where we just, have fun and be escapist? And do we need to demand this level of perfection? Because it's unreasonable. I would like to silence the group of people that are out there that think that Disney needs to give Star Wars back to George Lucas, though. Because, I'm sorry. There's been some good stuff, there's been some bad stuff with Disney, but the prequels were absolutely embarrassing. And that was 100% George Lucas. That was his vision back and forth through and through against the better judgment of the creators around him. Like, that was what he brought. So obviously I think there's got to be some middle ground. What do you want from Star Wars, fans?
I think out of this lot that we're listening to today, reviewing today, there'll be at least one of these shows will appeal to one type of fan somewhere. Yeah. I think they might hate all the other 5, but one of them they'll like.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to say by way of introduction before we dive into these 6 mini-series or whatever we want to call these? Streaming Star Wars series?
Well, they would say content nowadays, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Which I hate as a concept for, what should be art. Not to be pretentious about it, but yes. Let's get into these shows, man.
All right. Let's talk about content while creating content.
Well, that's right. I mean, consume our content, obviously.
Yeah, I'm just going to say it out loud just so everyone knows. We're going to talk about Mandalorian Season 1. Then we're going to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Then we're going to talk about Mandalorian Season 2. Then we're going to talk about the Book of Boba Fett. Then we're going to talk about Mandalorian Season 3. And then we're going to finish with Chris's very favorite, I'm assuming, Andor. Thanks for your ears. Thanks for being here, Chris.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession. Do you agree?
So, Mandalorian Season 1, 8 episodes, starting in 2019, going into 2020, which was a great year for everybody, 2020. Nobody had a bad time in 2020. So, a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement. Jon Favreau's involved. He was, of course, one of the founding sort of creative factors of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's really proven himself as a director in blockbuster big movies. And also they involved Taika Waititi, who, at this point hadn't put a step wrong because it was before Thor: Love and Thunder. But really creative guy, kind of a cool energy to bring to Star Wars. And they kind of, interestingly, overlaid the backdrop sort of spine story of Lone Wolf and Cub, this long-lasting manga/samurai series about a lone samurai who's protecting this toddler, and how this toddler, despite all the danger that it's constantly in, is like the safest kid in the world. That no harm will ever befall this kid. And, the sort of big-themed, legendary, sort of archetypical stories played out with these two characters. Now, instead of a samurai, we have this Mandalorian, sort of a extreme religious warrior who never takes off his helmet, functioning as a bounty hunter. Timeline where we're starting, it's after Star Wars, for the Empire has fallen, but it's still kind of present. And he is tasked to find and capture or kill this specific target. And of course, it turns out to be Baby Yoda. And the series is basically him first delivering the package, rescuing the package, bonding with said package, and then figuring out what to do with this adorable Baby Yoda. Which has always been a misnomer, A, because that's not his name. We do get Grogu as a name. And B, they say he's 50 years old. They say that in the first episode. I guess I'd forgotten that, but he's not really a baby. He's just inexplicably adorable, which also makes some of his behaviors even more questionable as we go forward. The surprises going in was that somehow Disney was unprepared for the reaction to Baby Yoda. They just did not have enough stuffed toys to sell. They did not have enough product to sell. There was like a vacuum of give us more of this. And that seems weird to me. Like, of all the things for the Mouse House to not see, this adorable Baby Yoda clicking, at least with the kids, wasn't on their radar at all. Like, in a weird way, flags go up there. But they don't let the adorable kids part of it overtake it. It's still pretty serious in tone, and I think they push the darkness about as far as they can without, disillusioning the kids. I mean, there's more to be revealed because a lot of stuff that happens in the first season will be referenced and brought back in further ones. But as a first standalone adventure, watching it with my kids, I had a lot of fun with it, and I enjoyed it, but the whole time I was watching it, I was like, man, if I saw this when I was 10, like if only I was like that age. There's an episode where he takes on an entire barge of Jawas and is like blasting them off the side of the ship because they pillaged his supplies off his ship. And man, like that's exactly the kind of scenario I would have used with my little action figures. And yeah, screw those little Jawas, Fun is had, but there's not a lot new here. Everything is borrowed from either another, story, like they say Lone Wolf and Cub, and they're not really, it wasn't like a bold new direction for Star Wars, but for me, it was fun enough. Where do you land on Mandalorian Season 1?
I think they came out of the gate really strong with this, up until one specific point where it turned, and I suddenly hate it.
Oh no!
But I'll get to that in a minute. Well, I wouldn't say hate it, but it takes a distinct turn. And I think, like what you were saying with the samurai and everything, it's really good. This is, I think, Star Wars as originally conceptualized by George Lucas in the way he brought together all these disparate elements and combined them into a unique flavor. Right? We've got the samurai, the rigid code of ethics that he follows, like a samurai would, and we have also then the Western. There's strong Western vibes in this.
For
it
sure.
opens
Yeah.
in like a Western style bar in like a snow planet. So there's like, there's a twist on that already, and they use the volume in this, which is their projection room, essentially, right? Their 3D projection room, very effectively in this first show for what it is good for, and that is like projecting these big, open, desolate spaces. It works so well for that kind of thing. Once they get leading into that for indoor locations in like Kenobi, it doesn't work as well. But we'll get to that later. And I was really enjoying a lot of this. I thought all the episodes are strong. You get this excellent characterization. Some of them are really fun, like little bottle episodes, like the prison breakout thing. He's on just like one of his day jobs that he would have been doing at any time. And as this show goes on, we get the overarching plot through every episode in a way that breaks down in the later seasons. But in this first season, we get his little side quests that all start that patterning together to add up to the finale and his ultimate goal. It works really well in the first season. And we also have, and this is where the problem comes in for me, we have a very interesting villain. The Empire in this, the Imperial remains 5 years after Return of the Jedi, are still a presence, but they're being pushed to the fringes. And we have a really excellent bad guy, and his name is just escaping me, played by famous German man.
Oh, yes, the bounty hunter. Oh my God, you're killing me. Werner Herzog. Werner Herzog.
Yeah, who is this awesome, understated imperial official with his agenda, his machinations, and he's making, in the 7th episode, he's making an excellent argument as to what has all this rebellion and chaos achieved. Look at the death that surrounds us. And you're like, oh damn, this guy's making an excellent point. And then he gets blown away by a cartoon bad guy who kills all his own men and goes, okay, now you have till nightfall, and then I might shoot you. And then I'm like, oh no.
Well, and that was just the Rio Bravo siege Western aesthetic being brought in for that last. There was sort of a classic showdown in the Western milieu. But yes, we sacrificed the interesting bad guy for a significantly less interesting one. That far, I would agree with you. I don't know that I would agree that it made me dislike the whole show, though. I think that it's sort of shown its hand in that, like, while it was trying to be a straight-faced, hard adventure, it was still for the kids, and it was still kind of goofy. It was hilarious watching these two stormtroopers trying and failing at target practice as a self-referential thing, but you're screaming at the Star Wars fans. You're screaming, this is a TV show, this is a movie. Aren't we all enjoying this? And again, it becomes less immersive at that point for me, Yeah,
I agree. That's also the part where the real-life memes of stormtroopers can't hit anything. This is a bugbear of mine. Can't hit anything becomes canonized in the universe, right?
Yeah.
From that point on, stormtroopers don't hit anything for the rest of the run of this entire show. And it's all over the internet. Every time you mention a stormtrooper, that comes up. It's such a funny joke. In A New Hope, those stormtroopers come through the door and they cut through those rebels like that.
Yeah.
And okay, they don't shoot the main characters in Star Wars, but in what movie that has ever been made, the main character is ever gunned down by generic bad guys? It doesn't happen in anything.
No.
Stormtroopers are so maligned for it.
They just yeah,
And-
they sort of hold that mantle for all generic bad guy first waves. They just can't seem to get the job done, no matter how many of them there are. But they also try to have that the world is real and has stakes. They introduce us to this adorable puppet creature that Nick Nolte voices, and he has a weird way that he talks, and they ice him pretty coldly. I remember my boys were a little, surprised by that, I think. And so they set up a world where there are stakes, but they also make you sure that at the end of every episode, Mandalorian's going to be fine, and Baby Yoda's going to be fine. It also, the season sets up their indifference about nature. The Jawas task them with getting an egg from this creature, and they kill the mother and steal this egg, and the Jawas eat the egg and have a big celebration, and, it's... A similar coldness is going to be seen in season 2 with the baby eating the eggs of this, endangered species, and that's being played as a laugh. They're really indifferent to life and death, and yet it's supposed to be bouncy and fun and kid-friendly and for everyone. So the tone is kind of strange, but it still manages to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I do enjoy it. I just think I would have, as an older fan who wants something a bit more mature, I would have preferred not to have that turn right at the end, and especially because when it first starts, I felt the threat. When there's 4 stormtroopers surrounding Mando in one episode, you're like, oh, what could happen? And then he kills 60 guys in episode 7, and then when you have the finale, and there's 10 stormtroopers standing outside, they're like, oh, well, they're trying to set up this big sacrifice of the IG-11 robot. Oh, well, we can't possibly fight our way out of that. And it's well, you just showed us 15 minutes ago that you could quite easily slaughter those guys. So they really try to play up that as a big dramatic moment, and I think that is where it really falls flat. Just sort of stumbles at the end in their first season for this. So they could have just
Well, I wanted
nailed
to
it.
bring up that IG-11 robot because Taika Waititi, on top of directing a couple episodes, sort of does the, acting and voice movement for the robot. And again, this is a problem that I've run into at the Marvel Universe, because does death matter? They really go out of their way to make a big moment out of that robot's death. And then by season 3, spoilers, you guys, he's back and better than ever, right? In the end, it really wasn't such of a much. He is still a droid, and he can still be fixed, right? So, I also think, Amy Sedaris? She's the woman who's the mechanic, and
Yeah.
I like her as a comedic actress. I think she's playing it a little too big for my taste. There's just something about the way she delivers the lines. She's yelling it like a Newfoundlander comedian. There's something just a little bit too much about her for me. Generally I like her, just not so much in this universe. But Werner Herzog, like you say, he fit in this world like a glove, and I would have definitely taken more of him. I just think that dude is weird and crazy, and if you can have him in your movie, have him in your movie.
Yeah, the way he speaks, it's so, I'm riveted when he's on the screen.
Yeah.
Whatever he's saying, whatever's going on, I'm compelled. And just to have him then replaced with a mustache-twirling villain.
For me, the
That's
weakness...
the bad taste.
Yeah, for me the weaknesses are the obvious one-offs. Even though the prison heist one was a lot of fun, it doesn't move anything forward. And the most egregious was the Sanctuary episode, where they go to the planet where it's a fishing village and they have to fight the... Yeah, it didn't really feel like we moved forward. We were kind of just treading water. Grogu did some cute things. We were introduced to some side characters that are going to end up not really mattering that deeply as we go forward. You could feel when they were spinning their wheels in this one. There were episodes that just mattered more, but there were no episodes that were boring or super lame for me. So I think it's a strong start.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything more you want to say about season 1?
Yeah, there is something with the... And there's parts which aren't telling you anything about a character or setting up something for later, which is like contrast that to Andor, where every single conversation matters.
Even if you don't think
point.
it does. Yeah.
Yeah, when you watch it, when I watched Andor, I've watched it like 4 times now. Every time I like, oh yeah, that something happens later. So I'm not talking about Andor yet.
We'll get there, brother. We'll get there. Dial it back, brother. We're gonna get there.
No, it's very good. They do have. I have a few like little nitpicks in this as well, because this happens maybe once or twice in this season, and increasingly happens later. The stormtroopers will get the drop on the heroes, and they'll shout "Freeze!" It's like, when they've just been slaughtering your friends, why they suddenly decide to... I know it happens in Return of the Jedi. We can't forgive that. But, it's like, aha, now we've got them.
Yes.
We'll try and take them prisoner for some reason, forgetting that we also have a stun setting on our guns, I suppose. That happened. But there's some nice cinematography. There's some interesting shots. There's a couple of, like, POV shots from the baby basket. I was like, oh, I don't remember seeing that first time around.
Let's be real, I think there is a percentage of goofiness to Star Wars, at least as I was introduced to it. And I think that there's something very formal and straight-faced about this Star Wars. I think it could actually afford to be a little bit rougher around the edges in some ways. It seems kind of polished. But I'm looking pretty hard to complain. I'm sounding like one of these awful Star Wars fans.
You don't want that.
Moving on.
I mean, yeah. As far as tone and everything goes, I think it works well enough. In that, this is something that could. This is probably something that is the closest to this first season. Please someone who is an old fan, as well as someone who grew up on, and a younger person. There's a bit of everything for everyone, and it's executed generally pretty well this first season.
Agreed. I think we should move on.
Leave us alone.
When the time comes, he must be trained.
Like you trained his father? You still want Kenobi. He's gone.
Maybe you've been looking in the wrong places. I want every lowlife and bounty hunter to squeeze him. You can't run, Obi-Wan! You can't escape him!
So, Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, I think this one falls under the category of things that you thought you wanted, right? This is going to fill in the story between the prequels and the Trig. All of the Jedis have gone into exile, and Obi-Wan is not even using his powers. He's kind of creepily stalking young Luke Skywalker on Tatooine. He's just this dude who like spies on this little kid. I think its attachment to the prequels kind of hurt it a little bit, but my affection for Ewan McGregor helped it a lot. I watched this couple series of travel documentaries he did, Long Way Round and Long Way Down, where he and his friend Charlie Boorman got on motorbikes and basically drove across the world and filmed it. And during the first series, he was doing the original shooting for the first 2 Star Wars prequels. And of course, he couldn't talk about it, but it was the dream gig. And if you watch that show, it's on his face. He knows it's bad, and he knows he's got 2 more movies to go, and it's just like, it sucks so hard for him. So, like, I want good Star Wars for Ewan, and I think Obi-Wan Kenobi is a lot closer to that than anything that the prequels offered him. It's like actually giving Ewan McGregor stuff to do, and he's a really good actor. And Like, it's not just a half-assed impression of Alec Guinness. I mean, it's there because he wants the continuity of character, but I think Ewan brings something to this that he, again, just wasn't able to in the prequels. But do I want to watch this story about, little Leia being kidnapped and the intrigue there was? Was I hallucinating, or did, like, Jack Black and Christopher Lloyd show up for a little while here? Like, there are strange extemporaneous corners all over the place here. There's a lot extra. And also, I think it's fair to say, a redemptive act for Hayden Christensen, who, again, got dealt a really lousy hand in the prequels and is offered some redemption here. So, I don't love it, but I like it for what it wants to be. And I like it for Ewan McGregor and just continuing to cheer for that dude. He always has these almost but not quite. Like, that Shining sequel, Doctor Sleep, should have been huge. It's a great movie, and he's great in it, and nobody showed up for it. That Impossible disaster movie about the tsunami, he is amazing in it, but everybody ignored it. So, yeah, one of these days. I think he's one of the better actors out there who's never even been nominated for an Oscar. So, I like Obi-Wan, but I bring a lot of my own personal baggage to it. What I don't like about the prequels, I make up for my fanboysness for Ewan and my appreciating Hayden Christensen getting a better swing because, again, a dream gig getting it in Star Wars, but Ewan still had a career afterwards. Arguably, Christensen kind of didn't. What did you think of Obi-Wan?
Mixed.
Yeah.
I think, like you, Ewan McGregor is so great, and I think people generally feel, and I feel, that he is the best part of the prequels, and this is a real opportunity for them to show what happened in between, because there's so many issues with the prequels that to contradict directly with the originals. So you had a chance here, because at the end of the prequels, everyone is in their starting positions for episode 4. That's 20 years later in universe that happened.
Yeah.
So it's unusual how the prequels even end. So now this was their opportunity to fill that story and to make sense. Did I want a story about Obi-Wan Kenobi? I don't really want a story about any of the main characters. I think everything that we need to see is encapsulated in the original trilogy. But the conceit is not terrible for this show to show us what was happening in between. And I think everything that happens with Ewan, and especially his relationships with him and Anakin/Vader, is really well executed. But everything else is really holding Led series down and really making it much less enjoyable, especially the very nonsensical character of Reva, which we need a whole topic on itself, because that is a mess what's happening there. And it's everything with her, the dialogue and performances is not great, and her characterization is not great, and the motivations are madness from what she's meant to be to what she's trying to achieve.
Yeah, there's the faction of the Empire that are hunting down Jedi. That's sort of the side plot that he's sort of evading. The reason he's staying in sort of incognito or not using his Force powers. And we actually meet a young Jedi that meets a bad fate in the early portion of the series, sort of to set up the stakes. But yeah, there's a couple of these Imperial, we've seen a lot of them actually, like those were high-ranking female Imperial officers who go against the rules because they're driven and obsessed to get this one particular person for this one particular reason. Like, if they'd done it once, I guess it would be interesting, but they've done it 3 or 4 times now. Like, it's like, I don't know what they're trying to say about the women in an imperialistic army, or if they are, or if it's just not that well thought out, or they're trying to make her dimensioned, I guess, but I don't know. She comes off just kind of all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. She has 2 modes, which is quiet whispering and then shouting, and she's so erratic. And the entire conceit of her character is that she's a Jedi that she was a child, a youngling that survived the Jedi Purge. So she wants to get revenge on Darth Vader, Anakin, who she knows who he is. She saw him directly, right?
Yes.
So in order to do this and to avenge her fallen Jedi friends, she slaughters
other Jedis
for the Empire to get promotion.
Quite coldly,
so she can
too.
Vader. And so she can kill him later. Except this is where the script falls apart, because it takes then Obi-Wan talking to her and going, Darth Vader wants me. If you could he could be distracted by me, and then you could stab him in the back. And she's like, oh yeah, now I can stab Darth Vader in the back. It's like, this is what you've been trying to achieve. What is going on? Like, how did you not
trying to establish that you're intelligent and ruthless, and that your decisions so that you are neither of those things repeatedly. It's so irrational. And then she decides to go. She gets a vague message that something Luke, Jimmy Smits mentions, and so then she's like, I guess I'll go murder him for some reason. She really wants to punish Kenobi, and it's like, why? She really wants to find Kenobi at the start, and this is on the thing that she can get close to Vader, but then it's a mess. And again, that's the less interesting part of the story. The more interesting part for me is like Obi-Wan didn't actually somehow know that Anakin had become Darth Vader. I guess he assumed since last time he saw him, he'd cut off several limbs and he was on fire.
He's done for.
Well, that's not unfair,
Yeah, I think that's it. I should have put him out of his misery thinking about it.
Yeah, but that's interesting to me that we come into this and he hasn't made that connection, and that we do see them again and they do have the fight, and again they try to justify the lie that he tells Luke about Darth Vader killed your father, because he claims it. Darth Vader claims that fact. But again, there's something about the way they handle the referencing of the prequels and the fan service. It's absolutely present in The Mandalorian, but in Obi-Wan, I always feel the like Jimmy Smits, you guys, young Leia, you guys, come on, Hayden Christensen, you guys. And for some reason, like, instead of everybody was just making these grand entrances and sort of tipping their hat to the fans, and it sort of slowed down the proceedings. But I can't hate it, but I'm not as into it as The Mandalorian, and that was very clear watching it. Like, I got through it. It was fine. It's something to watch while I fold laundry, but like, I'm not treasuring this. It's not the way I feel about, my classic Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that this was meant to be a Kenobi movie originally.
Right.
There's been so many changes going on throughout Disney with all the Star Wars properties as various ones have succeeded or failed, depending, right? And so I think you could definitely have extracted a very good movie out of this. And even there is hints to how this works within the context of the original trilogy in ways I like, that would work very well pared down to just the Kenobi story. Like, I think about how when Luke first goes up to Leia, I'm here, he introduces himself, I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm here to rescue you. Who? And I'm here with Ben Kenobi. She's like, Ben Kenobi? She knows Ben Kenobi, right?
Yeah.
She's met him. And and then and it works. And they had a little adventure that still works as a conceit. It works. It's just this execution, and there's so many contrivances necessary for the plot. Characters are just where they need to be at the right time. Reva gets a chance to stab the Inquisitor Lord so she can become the Lord Inquisitor, because he just happens to be by himself and unguarded. And maybe and then there's that tunnel they're escaping through with the defecting Imperial officer.
Yes, right.
Spy Imperial officer, and she is running through the tunnel, and there's a single tunnel, and then Reva's at the end of the tunnel somehow. It's like, how did she get there? It doesn't make sense. At the very end, there's a whole thing where Obi-Wan is confronting Vader. Reva's stabbed, lying on the ground, goes to kill Luke. The Empire decides not to. Darth Vader schools her, leaves her bleeding out on the planet, and then she flies to Tatooine.
Somehow,
there's no ship there. Right, the Empire's left. Their ships are destroyed.
She was left for dead and stranded.
She gets a ship, gets to Tatooine, and then chases after Luke. And then Obi-Wan has his confrontation with Vader, and then also arrives at Tatooine just at the same time. There's no distance. It would take... It's quicker than you could run onto the ship and just sit down, and regardless of travel time to a different planet.
It's weird
it has to happen. They want it to happen. It's just so contrived.
It's strange that those are the problems that they're having, though, because with a TV series, you have the benefit of time. When you're trying to compress everything into 2.5 or 3 hours, you're still there's just so much to cram in to get all of the characters represented and do your fan service and tell a good story, but have your own identity. If it was a movie, I would maybe be able to look past it more, but it's not. It's drawn out, and it's supposedly show run and thought out. So why are there these obvious contrivances? And again, does Star Wars come with obvious contrivances? Yeah, I'm starting to sound like one of the fanboys that I complain about, but there needs to be a certain reality within the world that we're playing in. Yes, it has magic, and it has aliens, and it has monsters, and it has robots, but it should have some kind of consistent rules as well.
Yeah, the rules that are established in the original series are not adhered to. In the prequels, they're mostly adhered to. The things they have to leave the planet before they go to hyperspace, and it takes time to travel somewhere in hyperspace. These are all things that you get in the George Lucas ones to some degree. But then once Disney takes over, none of that's mattered. The plot trumps everything. A character needs to be here for them to have this confrontation, then it's gonna happen.
It's not even Jason Voorhees teleporting from the woods to the cabin. It's from one planet to another.
Yeah, faster than you could run to the other side of your house. They're in a different part of the galaxy.
It feels like they really cared about assembling the right pieces and telling the right story, but they didn't care enough. After they got those pieces, they felt like somehow that would be enough. We got you, and we got Hayden Christensen. We know what story we need to tell. Okay, here's your money. Go make it. I feel like, I don't know, they were either in a mad hurry or this could have been great, and it's just okay.
It's just okay. It feels rushed, and it shouldn't, because they had enough time to make it work.
That said,
I shouldn't be thinking about, how did Reva get there?
Yeah.
If I'm compelled,
no, that's
I'm
right.
not thinking about,
But I
like
that we got two battles between Vader and Obi-Wan again. The first one, Obi-Wan kind of is taken to school, and the second time, Vader's mask is cut in half, and I thought that shit was kind of awesome.
Yeah, it was.
But
I love that line. I killed Vader, and then okay, I feel okay with
the lie.
What happens it makes it less painful to me about that.
Well,
and
again,
is less of a liar.
It's one of the few retrofits that fit. It's like how Rogue One explained the booby-trapped Death Star, right? Like, it's justified now. But, again, a lot of the times we just run into it what we think we want. We think when we're kids, we really want Boba Fett to survive the Sarlacc pit, right? He was just too cool a character to be thrown away like that, right? We think we want to know what happened to Obi-Wan in the in-between. It's also guilty, I've been running this again and again, so much of these, legacy sequels, whenever we catch up with a character we love, they're always, like, embittered and, like, at the lowest point in their life. Every time we catch up with John McClane, he's, lost his wife and family again. The new Indiana Jones, Indy is like this pathetic guy living in this terrible apartment when we meet him and at the end of his life, and at first I was worried that was going to be the vibe of this show, but it is definitely that. It's sort of the start of the redemption arc of Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? He birthed Anakin into the world, and I guess he doesn't really punch the ticket on paying that price until Star Wars A New Hope, but this was his setting out on that journey, and it was interesting enough. But again, I've said it about movies, and I'll say it about this show. It's haunted by the much better show it maybe could and should have been.
Yeah, agreed. It needed a few more passes on scripts and really tighten up and just do the Vader Obi-Wan thing, because it would have worked. And there's one really terrible piece of dialogue I want to highlight.
Yes.
At the end, after Reva's attempted to murder Luke, but couldn't. She says, "I couldn't do it. I've failed them." And then, like, referring to the younglings, she couldn't kill Darth Vader. Okay. But then Obi-Wan says, "You haven't failed them by showing mercy. You've given them peace." So somehow her showing mercy to Luke is failing the younglings. If she killed the younglings, she would have somehow... If she killed Luke, that would somehow have redeemed what happened to the Jedi children being killed.
So you were almost killed by a Jedi, and you dedicated your life to getting revenge, and now you're a Jedi killing a child Jedi, becoming the person that you most hated, and it doesn't occur to you until you're about to strike down. I don't know if that's a commentary on The Last Jedi and the whole Luke debating on whether or not to kill his student when he believes they're going wrong, but again, that's, if you're going to open that can of worms, nothing about that branch of the story made sense. The whole her being tested by the dark side and being tricked that her boss was killed but not really killed, and Vader knew her intent the whole time. Like, it really felt like just a waste of time. Every time we were there, which was like, yeah, but what's Obi-Wan and Darth Vader doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Show me the one whose safety deemed such destruction. You must reunite it with its own kind.
Where?
This you must determine. The songs of eons past tell of battles between Mandalore the Great and an order of sorcerers called Jedi.
You expect me to search the galaxy and deliver this creature to a race of enemy sorcerers?
This is the way.
Okay, so if in The Mandalorian Season 1 he found the child and bonded with the child, Season 2 is, what is he going to do with this child? So he's got to either find his people and take him back there, or maybe find a Jedi to train him, as he's clearly got these super crazy Jedi powers. There's also this weird sort of video game aesthetic B-plot that's building throughout the Mandalorian seasons as he's constantly upgrading his armor with new insignias and new plates and different weapons, and like a big deal is made of this, and it feels like a video game type of influence. If Mandalorian was a video game, which I assume it is, that would probably be a big part of it, right? It was building up your...
Leveling up.
Yeah, that's right. Collecting as much of the... What is the metal called? I'm trying to remember.
Beskar.
Yeah, yeah. So trying to get as much of that as possible so you can get your badass suit. Well, I gotta say, it starts strong because the first episode has an actor I like in Timothy Oliphant, and it seems like an unsubtle tribute to one of the greatest monster movies ever made, Tremors. Yeah, it's a complete sort of side quest, one-off episode, but I think it gets things going on the right foot. And I think the season knew where it was going, but it kind of had to meander to get there. I feel like it closes strong, but like there's just sort of... It feels more episodic, even though the first season was. It feels more episodic until the second half, which becomes this kind of sort of intense, straight-faced action thing. And we kind of lose some of the music and the lightness that we've been enjoying so far. But again, they still allow stakes. We still have, cool space monsters. Like I say, the giant dragon Tremors worm and ice spiders. And, we get to see that as the Empire's still around, the Rebels are still around. And we see some kind of cool interactions between this TIE fighter, X-Wing squad. And, a lot of good, fun fan service. I don't think they necessarily up their game from the first season, but it doesn't suck. And I think when we get into it, we'll talk about the third act. Once they start plugging in directly into mainline, full canon, our Star Wars universe is where they start, it starts getting a little bit more slippery. How comfortable is this going to mesh when we start seeing faces like fucking Luke Skywalker all of a sudden showing up in the show? It's still solid, but I think it's consistent. And as good as the special effects are, I do sometimes feel like I'm watching a Pixar movie. Like, the environments and the creatures aren't real, and I know they're not real. And I don't get lost in it in the way that I sometimes can. I enjoy it, but again, it's just become a different thing. I feel like my brain processes Star Wars differently. So, is it me? Is it the show? Help me. How do you feel about Mandalorian Season 2?
Mandalorian Season 2 has some standard episodes, but it is a bit of a slide in... It starts getting sloppier and sloppier. Like, things start being more contrived, less things start making sense, things have to happen for the plot. But I want to say the first episode is, I think, the best episode of The Mandalorian.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and I really loved it. And I tell you this, because I think this was the first legitimate reason for anyone to ever go back to Tatooine in all the Disney shows. Because in every Disney show...
They always have to go to fucking Tatooine.
They always have to go... Luke Skywalker, as we know, said that if there was a bright center of the universe, this planet is farthest from. And yet, we've been to Tatooine so many times.
And will again, I'm sure.
And will again, yeah, for sure. At the start of Season 2, The Mandalorian has heard a rumor that there is a set of Mandalorian armor on Tatooine. We know, from the original trilogy, there is in fact a set of Mandalorian armor
That's right.
on Tatooine. Right? And it's... So, and he's all about that. He's recovering cultural artifacts. He's all about his people. They're scattered to the winds. He wants, if there is a Mandalorian there, he wants to know who he is, or she is, and if someone else has got the armor, he wants to recover it, right? And so we have such a good reason to go there. And then we, the whole with Timothy Oliphant, as the marshal there. There's like great world building. We see how other parts of the Star Wars universe works. We see them strike a deal with the Tusken Raiders, and they have this whole plan, and they fight the Crate Dragon at the start, and it felt earned, not fan service. We want to just put a cool character in. We want to see Boba Fett's armor again. Okay, we built a good reason for that to happen,
and to bring Boba Fett into the story. Yeah,
exactly, because they wanted to bring it back, and even in as far back as in the 90s, the Expanded Universe books had Boba Fett surviving in the Sarlacc. So I was always kind of okay with that happening. And then the second episode, I think, is really great. And in these first two episodes, you get the stakes as well, because it feels like there's danger. People can get hurt, people can die. Like the Great Dragon seems dangerous. The spiders are scary and legitimate. Like Mandalorian's being chased by 2 X-wings, and he's outclassed, right?
And he knows it.
Military fighter jets.
Yeah.
He can't really compete with. He's on the back foot trying to just escape these 2 ships, and okay, it really works. But then as the series goes on, the Mandalorian becomes so invincible in the way the other characters act. We get introduced to these other Mandalorians who aren't part of his sector cult, and they're like no-name characters, and even these guys aren't being injured or killed. By the time that he is attacked by like 2 dropships full of stormtroopers, I know nothing's going to happen to anyone.
Yeah.
I just started counting how many people he kills. He kills 80 stormtroopers on screen. Him, Boba Fett, and Fennec Shand kill 80 stormtroopers on screen. And I'm like, this is silly now. Why do they even show up? Why do they even bother? He can't be hurt. Even the other characters don't have his magic armor. They just stand in the open. Like, the action scenes are poorly executed by now. They just stand in the open, and they just stand there. Shots are just going around, and like they're just chit-chatting. Oh yeah, blah blah blah.
It's
every time
problematic
someone wants
because
to attack them.
Yeah, I think it's the special effects working against them too. Because for the actors, most of what they're fighting isn't there, right? Mm-hmm. So their eye lines are weird, and like the weight seems off, the stakes seems off. And yeah, I think that Mando being kind of like an unstoppable force, I mean, they've established that. But by finding this whole crew of them, it sort of dilutes it a little bit. It makes him less awesome if there's a whole, like, if all Mandalorians are this. They bring in Katie Sackhoff. I know her from the Nouveau Battlestar Galactica. I was a big fan of, well, especially the first 3 seasons of that show anyway. But she's kind of a cool presence to bring in, and she's like, she can do the action scenes. I get her being part of this. But the whole idea that they're less stringent to the religious belief system, implying that our Mandalorian is kind of somewhat of a zealot or somewhat of an extremist, that would be an interesting thing to explore if they explored it at all, right?
Well, there is a little bit of it, and I like this in season 2, but I hate it when we get to season 3, because his Mandalorian's personal arc in this is that he is learning that there is more important things than the Mandalorian, this is the way thing, right? He's like, he has to, in, I think also the other best episode, the one where they go to the Imperial Garrison, he has to remove his helmet. You know, that's his whole thing. He has to remove it so he can save the child. He learns at the end there's more important things than your rigid adherence to this system.
Your own principle is your own principle, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's learning all this, and like that, and Mayfield, played by Bill Burr, is also very interesting. Like the conversations they're having. Bill Burr's a funny comedian, and he like throws a bit of it. It's a little distracting, but in that episode it really works, I think, because hey, you got like some Imperial guy's perspective, and when he's having that conversation with his his former commanding officer about how all his mates got killed by them, and he like, it builds up and he snaps and he shoots him. I'm like, it was such a great sequence, and all their conversations really like dig deep into the Star Wars world I want to see, this conflict, the human aspects of it.
Well, I like that in this universe, actors like Bill Burr and Werner Herzog fit quite comfortably. Like, you wouldn't necessarily just think that, obviously, but that's smart casting. I like Timothy Olyphant, too. Like, the Deadwood connection, the sort of cowboy thing is there, but he does seem to fit here. Like, you wouldn't necessarily assume it, but it works.
Yeah, it does work. And even though I do like that episode as well with the Bill Burr in it, but it does undercut itself somewhat, because he's really sad about all his Imperial friends being killed. And then they just start slaughtering Imperials again. You know, there's a triumphant moment when 2 TIE fighters save them.
Yes.
Like, yay! And then at the end, we blow up the same TIE fighters, and we're like, yay again?
Gentlemen, too evil.
Yeah.
I also thought
it's a bit sloppy.
towards the end of the season, we get introduced to these super uber droids. What are they called? Do you remember?
Death Troopers.
Death Troopers.
No, that's not right. No. That's what the black stormtroopers are called. These are the Dark Troopers.
Dark Troopers. Okay. It was sort of like in the prequels when they introduced those rolling droids that had the impenetrable shields. It was like, you guys had those? Why haven't we seen those all? Why don't you lead with those all of the time? If Mando can kill 100 of your stormtroopers without seriously breaking a sweat and still having a conversation with the people around him while he's doing it, like
while they stand in the middle of a corridor, you know, while they're being shot at.
Seriously, maybe open with the super crazy intense kill droids, because what I did like, it was silly, but what it accomplished was, when this mysterious Jedi shows up and starts mowing through these things, which we've seen kicking our hero's ass so hard for most of the episode, it pays off. And then we get the digitally recreated Luke, which I think looks pretty good, but sounds kind of off to me.
I think I didn't get distracted by the sound, and I think it just looks really good when he's stationary, but when he talks, I think that's the mouth. There's something, slightly off about it.
You can tell there's something there, but I like
this is not a real man.
I like what they're trying to do, and I like the emotional payoff, and I like that he's going to be trained by Luke Skywalker, and it feels like it's an end. But the fact that it wasn't an end, and that they knew it wasn't an end, and that it just kind of, it just makes it feel like nothing that happened in the season really matters. I guess we met more Mandalorians, and we learned a little bit more about the lore, but by the time we get back to season 3, it's still Lone Wolf and Cub on their series of adventures, and really, despite all of these big stakes and all of these cool faces, not a lot has changed.
Yeah, it's the Mandalorian's personal story is kind of achieved in this, and then a lot of stuff comes in about the Mandalorians wanting to reclaim Mandalore, and this Darksaber thing, all this starts coming up, and I guess that's meant to go on with that, but then as it becomes less of the Mandalorians show, and by season 3 it's totally the Bo-Katan, Katie Sackhoff show, right? And yeah, it feels weird. This should have been probably the end of the Mandalorian. I guess the little green money baby was too hard to get rid of. I also have a big problem with Moff Gideon. Even from the start I didn't like him, right? But the entire conceit of this Darksaber is that you have to win it in combat for it to have significance, right? At the very end, Moff Gideon is confronted by Mandalorian. He's like, "Hey, I'll give you the child, and I'll give you the Darksaber, and you just let me go, no problem." And then they need to have a fight sequence, so he attacks him. If they wanted to do a season 3 of this and make it really meaningful, Moff Gideon should go, "Here's the Darksaber. Make sure you tell Bo-Katan how you got it."
That's right.
and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I got the Darksaber, so you can be the leader of the Mandos." And then she'll be like, "Well, actually, that's meaningless now. Thanks."
Yeah, if it was a calculated thing instead of an actual failure. Again, they shortchanged the Empire a lot in this series, actually.
Yeah, they make them very stupid.
And yet they've somehow managed to have a stranglehold on the galaxy for generation after generation after generation. So
it doesn't make sense until you watch Andor and then pretend nothing else exists.
That's right.
But we'll get
I say all of these negative things, but again, like that's the fanboy voice in the back of my head. Going back to the Star Wars fan that I was, that 8 to 12 sweet spot when, before you understood what that girls were interesting and, that you lived so completely in your imagination. And there was something just real about it. When you're a kid and you watch Star Wars and you see that big dragon monster, you just believe it. And I don't have that anymore, but I miss it, and for that I enjoy watching The Mandalorian. And I do have the first 2 seasons on disc, and I will watch them again. I know I will. But it'll be because I'm just tired of watching the other Star Wars, and I need some different Star Wars. This is all setting up new characters for another season, and Boba Fett for the series we're about to talk to, and it was so much existing in service of other things that I think they kind of lost a little bit of their own identity. And again, they do the same problem happens with Disney and the Marvel movies, so I guess they're consistent in that measure.
Yeah, this is true. Do you know about David Filoni?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's now the creative director, but he was the guy behind Rebels and the Clone Wars, and the Filoniverse, as I think of it, all these characters that he created and he loves seep into everything. I think as Mandalorian was being produced and everything, all these other shows being produced, his influence grows much larger on it, and all these characters start being in everything. It starts to distract from what they, like the focus, like the Mandalorian focus. It becomes about these other people.
Well, like
it gets worse.
Ahsoka and that weird green hitman that shows up in the third one. I can't remember his name. Those were all introduced in the animated series. And my boys watched those. I will confess, I did not watch. I mean, I watched some of them with them, but I don't know that corner of the universe. Is there anything you want to say more about Season 2 of Mandalorian before we move on to the Book of Boba Fett?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
I am not a bounty hunter.
I've heard otherwise. I know that you sit on the throne of your former employer.
Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect.
You were all once captains under Jabba the Hutt.
I'm here to make a proposal that's mutually beneficial.
The Book of Boba Fett. I mean, there's flags right there calling it the Book of Boba Fett. But, man, this is a tough one because I was talking about when we talked about the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, how, like, they were kind of, I think, not so subtly trying to repair some of the damage done to the character in the prequel trilogy. And Boba Fett went from being one of the most mysterious, aloof, underused, but amazing characters in the original trilogy that has this, like, dismissible throwaway apparent death that nobody believed in, right? But the thing that we knew about Boba Fett was that he was a badass. And then the prequels established that, yeah, but not really. I mean, he's a cool guy, and he's a loving father, and he's like a super soldier, and they use him to clone the whole army, so really there's Boba Fett's to spare in this universe, but it completely demystified him, and I'm sorry, kind of uncooled the character, right? I mean, he was the son of the super soldier, but you know what I'm talking about. In that origin, he's just, in the same way seeing baby Anakin kind of took the teeth out of Darth Vader, seeing baby Boba Fett and that whole origin story and all of that kind of took the mystique away from him. And this is one of those characters. I remember being a little kid playing in the sandbox with my friends with the action figures, and we were like, there's totally going to be a Boba Fett movie someday. Like, this shit is going to happen. And if that day someone was to appear before me and say, there's going to be a Boba Fett TV show, dude, and Boba Fett's going to ride a fucking Rancor. Now you guys just have a little nerdgasm on the floor here, right? Well, here's the thing. Mandalorian, like Mando himself, is so much cooler and so much what we wanted from Boba Fett that Boba Fett's not Boba Fett anymore. He's kind of this old, haggard, nice dude, and we've lost any of the thing we understood about. He doesn't seem like this cold-hearted criminal, but he doesn't seem like this super-heroic guy. Much like our Mandalorian, he has his own personal code that he's very rigid to, but everyone else's code can go to hell. Right? Yeah, it's great to finally have that scene where he escapes the Sarlacc pit. And yeah, there's a hole in the organized crime on Tatooine. Fucking still on Tatooine. So why wouldn't Boba Fett fill that hole? And why wouldn't that be interesting? But I have to say, of all the shows we've talked about so far, comfortably at the bottom for me sits the Book of Boba Fett. It's the show we thought we wanted, but I don't think we did. And at the end of the day, what does the series give us? It gives us Boba Fett has an adventure, and eventually he hooks up with the Mandalorian, and the Mandalorian gets Grogu back. That is all. And unlike the Mandalorian ones where I could sort of see... it's fun. I could revisit this. I was watching Book of Boba Fett and feeling like this feels entirely disposable. And where's the badassery? Like, we finally get a little bit when like they're fighting together. Mando and Boba Fett are fighting together, and like aesthetically things look cool, and that feels like what we've wanted the show to be. But by the time we get there, and just the actual reality of seeing Boba Fett riding a fucking Rancor. It should be better than it is. It wants to be better than it is, and I can't help but feel a little heartbroken by it. But a lot of the damage was done between the work that was done by the prequels and how much cooler they made the Mandalorian. Like, there wasn't a lot left for Boba Fett to do anymore. He should have maybe stayed mysterious and in the shadows. What did you think of Book of Boba Fett?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. It's really telling how the Mandalorian takes over
the
two
show.
Episodes of this seven episode series.
He really does.
Yeah, he's like you don't see Boba Fett at all.
Yeah.
In two of the episodes, I think make Boba Fett works in the Mandalorian. You put him in where we saw him in those Mandalorian episodes. You're like, cool, he still has a mystique, he has an agenda, and you're over-explaining this character, and you're doing it in a bad way that makes him look like an idiot, and it just totally removes anything that was cool about Boba Fett. I sort of understand, I kind of like the conceit that Boba Fett had this life-changing experience. He woke up in the Sarlacc pit. He barely escaped with his life, and then he got taken in by the Tuskens who wanted to use him as a slave. Eventually earns their respect. Dances with wolves, right? Yeah. But becomes one with the natives, and that changes his perspective on life and his place in the galaxy and all that. But none of that is ever said or enacted by Boba Fett. We don't know what he wants. He shows up in the present day of the show, and he's like, I guess I'll be a crime boss, and to do that I'll just sit in Jabba's palace and then be nice to everyone, And then maybe that'll work. He
Yeah.
comes across as like idiotically naive and goalless. His plan is just to walk around with his helmet off and everyone will like him.
Michael Corleone in Godfather 3. Like, he wants to be a gangster, but he doesn't want to do any crimes. He wants to be intimidating, but he doesn't want to scare anyone or be thought of as a thug. He wants people to do his will, but he doesn't really have anything to offer other than the appearance of badass. And again, if you would have asked me what a Boba Fett show would look like when I was that little kid, it would have been all action. There's a lot of politics here. There's a lot of like conversations. Like, to me, for a time, Boba Fett was the most badass thing in the entire Star Wars universe. And I think that we should be in cross paths. I think Mando should be, maybe has a piece of his armor or something. There's a reason that Boba Fett and Mandalorian need to fight. There's something that maybe we could see. Two absolutely indestructible warriors going at it, Or, I don't know, or again, just leave Boba Fett alone. Maybe we could have established in The Mandalorian that whole B-plot where he tries to help them get Grogu back and, meet him there, but then keep him back in the shadows. So when we have other Star Wars things, like maybe he'll show up in the next season of Mandalorian, maybe he'll show up in Andor. What's he up to? Make us want more. Because after the Book of Boba Fett, I don't want more. I don't want more. It's great that he saved, what's her name from the first season of Mandalorian, gave her a robotic replacement for her entire abdomen, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, everyone else in the Star Wars universe is one shot and they're dead forever. But she can lie in the desert for a while, I guess, and then he drag her off somewhere.
But this is establishing something that they're going to go into more and more, in which death doesn't matter, right? I mean, they're going to do the same thing with Timothy Oliphant, and they're going to bring back the sacrificial robot from season 1. Like, maybe by Mandalorian season 4, they'll bring back the Nick Nolte puppet.
It's entirely possible. I mean, this is the David Filoni influence, I think, because he introduced time travel to the Star Wars universe in one of the cartoons, because Ahsoka is the secret apprentice of Anakin, right? And she is killed facing off against Darth Vader in the Clone Wars series. Because he is obsessed with his own characters, in one of the episodes of the Rebels show, someone travels back in time to rescue her, and now she's in everything.
Ugh.
And so this is like, all his characters have to be in everything, and it's really, really sucks, man. I don't want this guy to be making any more Star Wars. Please, someone stop him.
Well, I got confused actually by Ahsoka, because again, I wasn't as big in the show. We're a little bit tangenting, but that's fine. That's what Star Wars is all about. Because the boys watched the animated series, I think the Clone Wars or whatever it was, one of the early animated ones.
There's two. There's and Rebels. There's two. Separate.
Okay, well, she was in this one lot, and when we watched the prequels and the whole like wiping out of the Jedi happened, I thought that they'd showed Ahsoka get killed.
No, there's a similar looking, but
yeah, but again, because I was only vaguely assuming, like, I was like, that's ice cold that he killed his own, apprentice and didn't even like. It's not really acknowledged seriously by the movie, but Ahsoka will be a conversation for another day, but. Whether or not she's essential to the Star Wars universe, I don't know. I feel like Boba Fett, in a weird way, is essential to the Star Wars universe, but the more you shine a light on him, the less we want him. I feel like... it's like bile coming out of my mouth, Chris, but George Lucas was right to sort of sideline him as much as he wanted. Because we saw him so little in Empire and in Return of the Jedi, we were fucking obsessed with him. And now, having seen so much, I feel like I'm kind of over him. It's too bad.
Yeah, I agree. And like, he's a representative of like one of the tentpoles of the Star Wars universe, because we have the Rebel Alliance, we have the Empire, where stories can exist in, we have the Jedi, and we have the scum and villainy, right? And Boba Fett is, but between Boba Fett and Jabba, those are the scum and villainy of the Star Wars universe. There could be a story in there, and I think their decision to denude Boba Fett of all this mystique and threat and sinisterness is so strange. I feel like the Fennec Shand character played by Ming-Na Wen is what I think most people would have imagined Boba Fett to be.
Yeah.
She's more cold. She's like, we should kill these people. Let's kill them.
Her first answer to everything is kill them.
Yeah, there's like a single scene in the entire show where he does anything vaguely intimidating. He has lunch on top of the Sarlacc pit, right?
Yeah.
Like, why should we follow you? And the Sarlacc goes, rah! And he's like, oh, my boy's hungry. You know, and it's like, okay, cool. One part, and the rest of the time, there's nothing. There's nothing.
You know, and if they used the trapdoor in the palace once, I might have let it go, but I think they use it thrice. Like,
yeah, there's a few times. There's like that. There's so much poor execution in that. They get surrounded by assassins with big shields, and they're not really attacking. They're just kind of penning them in. Like, what is their goal? We find out later they're assassins. They're not really trying to kill them. What is going on? And then that assassin they capture, it's like, he's not scared of people. Maybe we'll fit him to the Rancor. Then he talks. If he was, why would he be scared of being killed by a monster instead of being killed by a human?
is not the end result the same? Are you still not dead at the end?
There's like so many problems with the show like that. It's just so badly executed.
So it's
like he's like, this is the entire setup for it's like, I should learn to ride the Rancor. That'd be cool. And then a day passes in real time, and then he shows up riding it in the last episode. And we have like the character of Cad Bane, who's he's the gunslinger. Right?
Yeah, the big bounty hunter. I think he was in the animated show as well. He
was, and you have to even have any, and they like he shows up and he's like, I killed Cobb Vanth. I killed Timothy Oliphant's character as a way to taunt Boba Fett. And it's like, but Mandalorian knew him. Boba Fett hasn't even spoken to him. Why would he care? He's like, who's that?
No, it's a character we cared about.
The audience know.
Yeah.
Oh no, you killed that guy from the other show that I hopefully watched before this happened, and you're the bad guy from that other cartoon.
Yeah.
And you're being established now in halfway through the second last episode.
And that's asking a lot of your audience. And I'm also sure that most of the audience is not familiar with, the origins of Mandalorian. There's a scene with Luke Skywalker and Baby Grogu, or Baby Yoda. I keep on switching back and forth between the two. Where he offers him a choice between this chainmail armor and the lightsaber. And in Lone Wolf and Cub, a similar choice is offered with much higher stakes. In Book of Boba Fett, the choice is basically, if you choose the armor, you're choosing to go with the Mandalorian and follow that path. And if you choose the lightsaber, you're choosing the path of the Jedi. And it might have been better for the universe if Grogu had chosen the path of the Jedi, but he chose the path of the chainmail. Interesting to note, in the original story, when he offers this toddler this choice, this baby that's basically not really capable of understanding the choice, it's between a ball and a sword. And if the boy chose the ball, he was going to send him to his mother via killing him and putting him to heaven, right? So you can live the life of a child or you can live the life of a warrior, but if you're going to be a child, I'll have to give you to your mother. And if you're going to be a warrior, you're going to stick by me. And it's interesting that they have Luke Skywalker doing this choice because, again, that his fatalism or his choice or debating even whether or not to kill one of his own students becomes a really big plot point in future stories. So it weirdly kind of fit well into the Star Wars universe. But it's funny how none of any of what I just talked about has anything to do with Boba Fett.
Yeah, what a strange decision, because I just clicked next episode when I was watching season 2 of Mandalorian without thinking. And then, Mandalorian's in a new ship with Baby Grogu, having just given him, and I'm like, oh yeah, right, I meant to watch Boba Fett in between.
Yeah.
But if for someone who's just watching it, or just like not watching it when they came out a couple of years ago in the sequence they came out in, you'd be like, what the hell just happened?
I mean,
strange.
I understand the mentality that if you're going to watch The Mandalorian, you're very likely going to watch Boba Fett. But again, people watch things at different times. And yeah, if you're watching The Mandalorian in order, season 3 is not going to make sense when you get there. And that's a weird thing to do on purpose.
Yes, it is. It is. This is not something that... This is not like the prequels or the sequels where, like, oh, all right, we've had this established 30 years ago and we have to
fix it,
make it fit.
Yeah.
George Lucas didn't try to make it fit with the prequels, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. But they're writing this. You can plan it. You don't have to have a detailed plan. Just be like, oh yeah, in the next season of this show, I want this to happen. So okay, great. Note that when we're writing our show. That's how simple it would be to make it make sense. But they're not doing that.
But honestly, I think you could safely say you could skip this, or maybe just watch the episodes where the Mandalorian takes over it, and it is the most inessential of the Star Wars that we've been talking about today so far by a pretty significant margin.
Yeah, Boba Fett has no goal and achieves that by the end by vaguely winning over a couple of criminals in Tatooine. And
it turns out the most badass bounty hunter in the galaxy, super decent dude, man.
Just a sweetheart. He, like, at the end, he says to Cad Bane, Cad Bane goes to him, you're just like your father, you're a killer, right? He's taunting him. And he's like, no, I want to protect the city, the people, of the people I deliberately chose to have this battle in the city of. And then at the end, he defeats Cad Bane, and Cad Bane goes, I knew you were a killer. And then he kills Cad Bane, right? One of the very few things we know about Boba Fett is that
he disintegrates
Darth Vader
people.
Personally had to tell him, no disintegrations. You are such a maniac, you are such a killer, I have to specifically tell you, Boba Fett, that not to disintegrate this person. We need him back intact. So where are they pulling this even from? Where did they get this?
No. His time in the Sarlacc pit really had this this regarding Henry type of change in his characters. So.
Yeah. And speaking of the Sarlacc pit, why is there a stormtrooper down there? It doesn't make sense. There's no stormtroopers on Jabba's barge.
But they get digested over thousands of years, right? So he could have been in there for a really long time. We don't know.
We don't know. Just don't worry about it. Don't think about it.
This show's fake, Chris.
It's not real.
Moving on.
Our people are scattered, like stars in the galaxy. What are we? What do we stand for? Being a Mandalorian's not just learning about how to fight. You also have to know how to navigate the galaxy. That way, you'll never be lost. I'm going to Mandalore, so that I may be forgiven for my transgressions.
May the Force be with you!
This is the way.
There's something dangerous happening out there. And by the time it becomes big enough for you to act, it'll be too late.
Okay, so Mandalorian Season 3, this gets us up to date. Apparently there's going to be a movie of Mando coming out sometime, but I think basically it's focusing its energies now that he has Grogu to sort of incorporating him into the culture of Mandalorian and like taking him in as a, what do they call them, a adopted
Foundling.
Sorry?
Foundling.
Foundling, thank you. That was the word I was looking for. But when he goes back to his people, he has to confess that he did indeed take off his helmet and show his face to Grogu, and they take this shit pretty seriously. So he has to go back to the ruined homeworld and bathe in this sacred water, and the other side quests happen along the way. But basically it's him sort of reconnecting with his culture and receding the leadership to the Katie Sackhoff character so that they can go back to their planet and basically re-find their entire civilization. They might need to recruit some new people because there's not a lot of them to go around.
Yeah, there's like 20 of them.
That's right.
Successfully, the civilization's going to be.
It's going to get a little soupy, a little quick, but that's the kind of stuff we're not supposed to think about. But we're getting a little bit more into like hard sci-fi, like deep into the culture and deep into the lore, and that's the kind of thing that you can get into when you have a long-form series. Is that what Star Wars fans want? You know, this sort of power struggle and the final confrontation with one of the more underwhelming Dark Jedis in Star Wars history, right? Although I thought the dark saber looked kind of cool, as like aesthetically.
It's a cool effect. Blackness.
I enjoyed watching it, but I wanted to be invested more. I wanted to care more about the Katie Sackhoff character. When she sees this wondrous beast of yore in the ancient waters, I wanted it to be this big, powerful, moving moment that the show clearly was trying to make it be. And it's just a half a beat off. But coming off the back of Boba Fett, it still felt like a breath of fresh air on some levels too. And it does bring us to a point which is so rare in these sort of cinematic universes, which would be a very comfortable endpoint, you know? Mando actually has his feet up and he's enjoying time with his son at this point. And he's not in imminent danger, and he's not an imminent threat, and he's not in anguish of some ruinous shame from his past. He's at peace, and it's a satisfying way to end things. So it doesn't have the most amazing arc if this was to be the complete end point of this series, but it's not unsatisfying. And why I've been resistant to get any into this is because my theory that it would just go on forever and not have a real ending, which was the fate of most TV shows, or you know that it would become frustrating and just a chore, you know. That never happened for me with Mandalorian. It came close to happening during Boba Fett. But there is something that's keeping me at arm's length, and on first pass, I guess I'm having trouble articulating what that is. So help me out, Chris. Where do you land on Mandalorian Season 3? Is my cynicism just rubbing off from Boba Fett, or was there something missing here?
No, this is definitely a noticeable step down, I think, for the first two seasons of Mandalorian. And I'm not, like, opposed in principle to exploring more. Like, the Mandalorian doesn't specifically have to be about that character as the show evolves, but he has so little to do in this. He's so sidelined that you really are, it really becomes someone else's story within it, and that is not even executed in a satisfying way to me. And then there's just a lot of things are so strange and fall flat in the execution beyond the overall plot that really distracts me from it. Particularly, like the how the Mandalorians are living by a lake, and then like a giant crocodile comes out. They're like, okay, kind of like standing there, pew 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 pew. We're having kind of a weird static battle with a monster that's just sitting there.
And it felt like a standard monster fight in Star Wars. Like, weirdly enough, we've seen so many of these big bug attacks now in the shows. It's just like, oh, we're doing this now, right?
Yeah, how many monsters are there out there in this Star Wars? It's just like filler. The one episode that's made me laugh so bad is a giant dragon comes and steals a kid, and they go to chase him, and they run out of fuel, and he goes, "It always gets away." It's So what are you? Then why are you just? Why did you chase him? Why don't you have a spaceship ready? Why is no one just like standing on a rock going, "Oh, the dragon's coming. Let's go in the cave." There's no verisimilitude in the world, which is really making me feel.
But the giant dragon and the giant crocodile monster seems to not exist as comfortably in the same world as the sort of political intrigue of Mandalorian and the leadership battle and the Dark Jedi escaping his prison barge and like both of those things are kind of interesting, but they don't feel like they belong to each other somehow.
Yeah, it's oddly there's too much trying to be crammed in. This is what it is, I think. It feels like crashing action toys together. There's no cohesion. It feels like, oh, now a giant crocodile comes. Now the baddie has escaped, and he's got super Imperial stormtroopers with jetpacks. Pew, 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 pew. Now they're gonna, like, have a ridiculous fight where they fly at each other on jetpacks and, like, crash into each other in the sky. Now TIE fighters are gonna attack the Mandalorian fleet up in there, and then we saw that for a minute. Don't worry about what those TIE fighters are doing now. They're vaporized. Phew, where they go? You know, it's just like...
They're on coffee break.
Yeah, they went home, I guess. No, they didn't go home because that's where they left from. So they've gone somewhere else.
They ran out of space fuel.
yeah. It's just, there's a lot thrown at the wall and it doesn't land.
Well, it doesn't feel as thought out as the other seasons, and it feels like the dramatic sort of reunion that happened in Boba Fett was sort of robbed out of this season. Like, maybe they could have established in Boba Fett that they were trying to find the Mandalorian and that they had baby Grogu and get him to him and leave us with a cliffhanger in Boba Fett or something like that, but it sort of feels like Mando and Grogu are sort of a witness to what's going on around them, and other than the sort of sequence with the water, that spiritual lake, whatever, that seemed like a personal journey for him. Also, they anoint Katie Sackhoff's character. She just sort of was there with him and helped pull him out of the water, but by virtue of going in the water, she is forgiven for all the times that she's taken her helmet off. So just so I understand, he took his helmet off once to say goodbye to his surrogate son, who he thought he would never see again, so they would maybe know each other in some sort of deeper way. And she just couldn't be bothered. She wore it when she was in a fight. Otherwise, it was just like... And again, it's got to be a pain in the ass to eat like a chicken off the bone if you're wearing your helmet. But
yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of that specifically, there are parts where they try to, that's like a little bit of world building that they do, but it doesn't make sense. They're like, actually, Mandalorians, we all walk off in a different place and find this place secretly to eat. Okay, that maybe works if there's 8 people. What happens if you're traveling with an entire battalion, you've got 8,000 men in your Mandalorian party? Do they scatter across a 500-mile radius to eat privately?
And if someone should happen upon you eating, now fuck, I have to go all the way back. No. My spiritual well-being is in chaos now until we go to the other side of this galaxy and I swim in a lake with a dragon in it. Thanks for that.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It's not well executed, and it undermines the first 2 seasons so badly in that he was developing as a person outside of just his identity as a Mandalorian, and now he's just desperate to get back to it. And they are throwing a lot of things at the wall because they have they go to the planet and there's Jack Black's on it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't dislike Jack Black, but like distracting cameos, him and Lizzo, and there's like a fairly interesting story inside that where the droids are like being mistreated. What happens to an army of war droids after the war's over, right? And there's like we just get that, just like a touch of that, and and we're off again, abandoned.
It's a one-off. And again, there's a whole thing to kick down with the droids in the Star Wars universe. Are they alive? Are they robots? Like in the original trilogy, they're being tortured. Hot branding is put on the feet of a droid, and it screams in pain. Like, what are droids? Are they alive? Do we care? Like, again,
we don't serve their kind here.
But are we going to get a live-action droid series? Because I would like to say, as a Star Wars fan, I really hope not. I really sincerely hope not. Like, we don't need an Ewok series. We don't need I think we need to find a new corner of the Star Wars universe on a new planet with a new type of alien species and a new adventure that maybe slowly gets sucked into the good or dark side of the Force. Like, I think part of the problem with Mandalorian Season 3 is we know what to expect from Mandalorian so completely, and we know what the format is. And they could go on forever having this Lone Wolf and Cub adventures together, but already after 3 seasons, you kind of sort of feel the tires spinning with the formula. And they can introduce more characters, they can kill off more characters, but Grogu and Mando are invincible, right?
Yes, literally. They get shot. Mando gets shot so many times.
And not just them, like we said. The
Mandalorians kill so many Imperial. Yeah, all the other Mandos. Like, they even when the Imperial Mandalorians show up, they shoot one. Like, they've got Beskar armor, and then later they can just shoot them and they die. Like, what? What are you doing? What are you doing when you're making this show? The Mandalorians kill Imperials so effortlessly by the hundreds. How did the nuke Mandalorian? They should have just been like, they should have just landed one Mandalorian on the Star Destroyer and just cut every single person down on board it. Because we know they can. That's what we're shown every time they're on screen.
Well, they seem competitive with Jedis in that measure. Like, and again, so maybe I have to assume they just obliterated the planet in some kind of surprise attack and forced them into hiding.
Well, maybe.
I don't know, but like they're overpowered, and that's another part of the problem, I think.
The increasing Marvelification or the superheroification of main characters in Star Wars is really apparent in these shows, right? In the original trilogy, Luke Skywalker gets a single TIE fighter behind him. I can't shake him. Yeah. He's a dead man. Except Wedge saves him, with a crazy head-on attack. Luke Skywalker is fighting a single scout trooper on Andor and really having difficulty with it. But by the time of the prequels, the Jedi have started to become superheroes that can cut through hundreds, and now that's established in the minds of the fans. If our main characters aren't chopping down 50 people, we're like, what's going on? That's pathetic.
Well, again, I think it's the influence of like video games a little bit, not to sound like an old man, where this sort of like the John Wick age, where like triple digit body counts are just expected. Like, for me, like, again, back in my day, Die Hard and Speed, those are 2 amazing action movies, but the body count is comparatively tiny, but it delivers on the action, and I don't know that the body count is necessarily required. Star Wars always had stakes, but it wasn't really necessarily violent. Like, you could still bring the kids, right? So I feel like it's a good place to end the series on, and I guess they could do a cool one-off movie adventure. That would be easy enough to pull off. But if this was the end of the series, The Mandalorian, I think that's pretty solid. I would say, a little bit of a downward trend in the 3rd act, but not unworth my time. Again, so far the only one that sort of frustrated me in that level has been the Book of Boba Fett. So, anything else you want to say about Season 3 of Mandalorian?
No, I don't want to make it a 12-hour episode, so we'll move on.
Boom. Well, we're here for Andor.
They're so proud of themselves. So fat and satisfied. everywhere. They're watching me now.
Soon enough, these days will end. There will be no rules going forward.
People are standing up. That's what a reckoning sounds like.
So, Diego Luna played Cassian in Rogue One, the by far best movie that Disney has released since they got hold of the Star Wars label. And great character, and really liked him, and having his backstory filled out, and just sort of getting the experience of what it would be like in the dirt, in the grime of the Rebel Alliance. Like, there's no polishing sheen, there's no comfort to that. And that was established right away in the original trilogy. The Empire lived in these sort of clean, cold, hospital-like environments, and the Rebels lived in these oily, greasy, dirty, dusty, cold or hot environments. Like, they were in the shit. And I think that's the sort of mission statement of Andor. We're about the Rebel Alliance in the shit, the meat and potatoes. And we see our Cassian as kind of a reluctantly being drawn into this initially. He's willing to run a few jobs on behalf of the Rebels. He's willing to make some money off the Rebels, selling some Empire tech that they need. And he gets into the intrigue and finds that he kind of knows more than he should. And the Stellan Skarsgård character, the more cards that drop about the character and the level of deception he's playing, and how he's like this double, triple agent that's got his finger in every pie, and really sacrificed his entire existence to the rebellion, knowing that there's probably no happy ending for him. And it seems like the arc of the first season is taking Cassian from a reluctant rebel into a true believer rebel, to like I'll do it if you pay me, to like I will sacrifice my life in Rogue One to see that this shit gets done. And it's really well done, and the show is, I think, almost stolen by Stellan Skarsgård, but I think Luna does hold his own. But Skarsgård has got a hell of a character to play. Like, depending on who he's talking to and what scene and what place he is, he's a completely different character. And what his goals are not always cleanly understood by us, the audience, especially. Again, this is my first pass, Chris. So maybe when I watch it again, I will sort of pick up more on this. But, like, you're not sure where to land on him for a while, and you're sort of with, it's like, you guys play pretty hard, but then so does he. In the first episode, they're almost caught by these Imperial officers or whatever, and one of them he accidentally kills. And it is accidental, I'm sure, but the other guy is a witness, so he murders that dude. And this is not for any other cause than saving his own skin. So this is much more of a gray area, again, this sort of harder Western world. And Andor just establishes itself as not playing in the kid end of the pool anymore. This feels like a more adult show in a way that maybe the kids who really love Mandalorian for its cuteness and its humor might be rubbed the wrong way by it. But I'm here for it, I have to say, on first pass. Of the streaming series they've done, it best justifies its existence. And even though it's playing with a familiar world and characters, it feels the most new. Like, it feels like they're doing the most new with Star Wars, with Andor. It's got that sort of 70s spy genre vibe overlaid with our Star Wars monsters and pew 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 laser aesthetic. And no pretentious speeches for any Mandalorians, and no Jedi bullshit, which I'm coming to discover I am starting to welcome. I think maybe a more human, fragile presence in Star Wars gets me to a place where I can actually feel the stakes and the suspense actually counts. And when people get killed off and when things go bad, it matters in a way that I feel an emotional response, and not just like, oh, that was interesting, or I did or didn't see that coming. I was like, oh no, that sucks, dude. Oh, so I'm on board for Andor, and I've got this sneaking suspicion, like Chris agrees with me.
All right, cards on the table.
Yes.
I think that Andor is probably the best thing Disney has ever done.
Best thing, not Star Wars, but just best thing.
Best thing. The best thing. Now, I'm obviously biased. I'm a big original trilogy fan. And Andor feels like the original trilogy in a way that nothing else that Disney has ever done with Star Wars, even that George Lucas did with Star Wars, has felt like. And I've heard online people say that Andor doesn't feel like Star Wars. Because I think this is a generational thing. I think this is the people saying this who grew up on the prequels. And Star Wars to them is a Jedi temple, monks meditating.
It feels like Empire Strikes Back to me specifically.
Yes. It feels like every single part of Star Wars that wasn't the main cast. Every single person in the background, every member of the Rebel Alliance, every Imperial soldier, every boardroom meeting of the Empire, in every little gritty detail that we see in the background, it is those pilots of Red Squadron, right? That's their story. Like the Cassian represents the wars in Star Wars, right? Not the hopeful adventure. He is a representation of every single person of the rebellion that died and fought and bled to get Luke Skywalker into that final position to fire that shot, right? Every normal person that needed to exist to make the story of the Star Wars happen. I just think it's a masterful work, and watching it back a few times, you get everything leads to another. And yeah, it sets its cards on the tables in the very first scene. We go with Cassian Andor to a brothel where he's looking for his sister who works there, and he ends up accidentally killing a corporate security guy who's shaking him down. And
they weren't very nice, but yeah, that
they weren't nice, but yeah, and this is the first domino in a chain of events that will eventually lead to Luke Skywalker firing a missile at the Death Star, and we get to see like every facet of that unfolding in a way that progresses logically and builds on itself and builds on itself and builds on itself. Every investigation, every conversation is leading up to what happens, and it's just brilliant. Brilliant.
Well, and
I'll let you talk, but I have more.
I'm just saying, Cassian is not this heroic dude, and we don't establish him, trying to feed his sick, starving children or whatever, having this. He is trying to cover his own ass and trying to, by means honest or dishonest, get by in the world. And one of the things that you don't pick up on Star Wars as a little kid, or maybe you don't really think about until you discover Star Trek, is that Star Wars is kind of nihilistic. The true through line of every Star Wars movie is war, right? Like, we talk about Luke Skywalker destroying that first Death Star like it ended things, or changed things, or stopped the Empire. But generations later, the same fight is still being had. And presumably generations later, the same. The thing that is consistent is that we are always fighting. So if we live in a world where we're defined by always fighting, how do you choose what side you're on? Why do you choose your side? Who do you commit to? And maybe, I don't think they've ever addressed it, but do you have to? Like, are you, in this universe, are you a fool if you try to live a life of peace?
Yeah, Cassian, is a survivor, fundamentally. He's out to just live. And it's established he is, as though, right? They think everyone's...
Sorry, you glitched out there just for a second. Can you say that again?
Like he's established as this survivor from the very beginning. Right? His in the flashback scenes, which are the first 3 episodes, we learn that his home planet is there was a mining disaster there, and everyone is believed to have been killed, but a small enclave of children have survived, Lord of the Flies style. So Cassian is built to survive, yeah. And we learn more about that, and we also, and what is so brilliant about it is that we finally get to understand why someone would ever be in the Empire, how the Empire might function and succeed, and the true evil of the galaxy is the banality of evil. The quote that comes to mind is, "For evil to win, a good man has to do nothing." Right? Yeah. And in the context of the Andor as established, we see Imperials who are not necessarily evil in any particular way. They're just in the system. You know, someone who's carrying boxes down in a hangar bay is not really thinking of the evil that they're propagating, but all these systems are in place, and this is also in the show. Luthen talks about it, the slow boil, right? The galaxy is the lobster in the heating pot that's not realizing, and this is what the characters are so great. He wants to push things over the edge, because at the moment
that's the only way people will notice.
That's right. They need to notice, and it's the whole series is like a masterclass of character writing. We learn more about the corporate security police chief in his first scene. Not Cyril Khan, the pedantic one,
right?
But we learn more about his boss in one scene than we learn about most of the characters in the other shows in their entire thing. Cyril Khan comes in and he's talking about the murders of the 2 corporate guards. And Cyril Khan is an interesting
He's an interesting bad guy.
He's an interesting bad guy. Cyril Khan is technically correct. 2 cops got murdered, and he wants to investigate. But his boss is like, he's world weary. He knows how things go. He's like, these are bad cops doing things they shouldn't have, and they finally messed up and crossed someone they shouldn't have. And if we make a big fuss about this, the Empire is going to come. I'm literally going to go talk to the Empire right now and say nothing's wrong, so you shut up, because otherwise the Empire is going to come and crack down.
He's not wrong.
Take the joint over, and then Cyril does it following his moral principles, right? He's technically correct, even though he's a twat. He's technically correct for what he's doing, and he brings the Empire. He gives the Empire the excuse they want. There's like a line of dialogue that the Empire is like, corporate security is in charge of there for now. One of the Empire guys says the Empire is always angling to inch power in, and I love the representation of the Empire as well, in that they're not Nazis. They're not directly rounding up people and shooting them and putting them in gulags, Hollywood Nazis. The Empire in this is operating as the British colonial empire. They'll show up in your planet and be like, we're going to just build a dam here.
Yeah.
And
we're here to help.
We'll make some treaties with you guys. We're here to help. There'll be jobs. You guys can still do your ceremony down there, whatever. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
We're not going and they slowly edge them out.
And then one day, this is ours now.
This is ours now, and it's too late. And you didn't notice the heat going up in the pot. And the characters in the Empire are not evil because of it. They're fighting for their own position in the structure.
Well, and objectively,
governor is.
Dirty cops or not, these 2 guys were murdered. Your job is to solve crimes. Like, he's a villain to us because we like Cassian, but he did kill that guy, and like I said, they actually made a point of him murdering this witness cop. Like, he didn't have to do that, but I guess at that point, why leave the guy a living witness, I guess. He figured they wouldn't know who they're looking for. And it sort of culminates in them sort of looking for him at the funeral of his mother, and it involves what's the name of the rebel? Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma. Sorry, I'm not really good at my Star Wars incidentals. But again, it's a character that I know her, and I'm not sure that I wanted to know more about, but this show kind of made me more interested in her. She's definitely that recognizable because for the longest time she was the other female in Star Wars. Like, again, to address all the wokeness, it was like they always have to include women. They always have to make them overpowered. It was like, yeah, but that was completely absent in the first 6 movies. So, anyway, I like that they tonally weren't worried about emulating Star Wars in the same way that Mandalorian was. Star Wars creeps in, and is it effortlessly can and must, but they're really liking the paranoid, high stakes sort of sabotage, spy, quiet war sort of that is going on, and it's running on that engine, and it feels refreshingly adult for Star Wars. I suppose the polar opposite argument would be Star Wars was originally sort of thought of as a family or even a kids franchise. And is Andor for kids? I don't know that it is.
No, but I think it's okay that, like I said before, this can exist. Disney can make the adult version. Disney can make a show that was for us, our generation, who are older people, adults now,
yeah,
who want to see a mature story in this universe that we love. And I think a lot of there's so much darkness in the original trilogy that has been eroded away very heavily in later shows. That the fun aspects of it were always there, but that undercurrent, there's like genocide and all sorts of things happening.
Perpetual war, like I'm saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in that, and George Lucas himself said that adults now forget that I made Star Wars for 12-year-olds, and they grew up watching it, and so they don't understand now. And I think to myself, well, when he made the prequels, he's like, I made this for kids, just like the originals, and that's why people didn't like it. He said specific 12-year-olds. I saw The Phantom Menace when I was 13. I don't think... And I hated it.
Yeah.
So I don't know I don't think George Lucas even has. I think he's lost that perspective on what he made originally, because it's not just for kids. The original.
Well, and Andor's not a technical exercise. I mean, it is a technical exercise, but that's not the whole thing. It's not all about wowing us with its high tech special effects and achieving the sort of blissful, brilliant kind of distracting sci-fi kind of entertainment. This is deeply thoughtful and kind of dark.
Yeah, it's so, everything is executed so well. Like the heist, and I love that there is, we have first it's like the cop murder investigations, the first arc. Then we have a heist on the Imperial base. Then we have the prison break, and then we have a building to an open conflagration at the end. Each of them gives you something slightly different, and what Andor's doing through all of them. I love the execution of everything that is so missing from the other shows. The final gun battle in episode 3 between is like 10 cops and Andor and Luthen, right? And it's tense. You think anything could happen.
Yeah.
Andor they shoot like they shoot maybe 2 cops in the entire thing, and it's still the most exciting action scene. As things are escalating, the bad guys are not being incompetent. The security guards, they're like blocking off their streets. They're trying to intercept them. They're acting in a way that you would. It's just escalating out of the cops' hands, right? Because Luthen is like one step ahead of them. and they're like starting to panic. They're freaking. It's like it's so human in what happens, and it really speaks to me watching that, like how they grip those human elements at the end of the heist. One of the former stormtrooper sergeant, he's leading the team that's going into the underground. He breaks cover and just gets picked off. You know, something that would happen in a gunfight. You know, you like mistime your run and someone shoots you, and that's it. It's not. He's gone, and that's just like so. It feels so real.
That's the world that we're living in. And I think we anchor with the characters in a stronger way. Even with the Mandalorian, who I like, and Boba Fett, like, they wear the mask all the time, and they're sort of, their identity is their coolness or their badassness. Like, these people feel real and accessible, and like they actually, you know, shit and bleed and get hungry and suffer. So
even Mon Mothma's arc, which is so understated, it's like you get her, like, she has to eventually like betray her family for the cause. Right? Her driver's spying on her. She knows this. Her money, she's been giving her money to the rebellion. She has to throw her husband under the bus with his
gambling problem.
Right? Yeah. To explain it away. And she has to make a deal with this just one scene character who's a former gangster, right? We get so much from just this one character. And she offers this gangster money. He's like, I'm not interested. I got enough money. I want to buy my way into...
I want credibility.
I want credibility. I want to buy my way into your family. I want your daughter to marry my son.
Yeah.
Right? And so she has to sacrifice her own child to this bad man.
Talk about everything for the cause, right? And does that still make sense after a point? It's deeper Star Wars than we're used to.
It makes you think.
But I think that even in the goofier corners of the original trilogy, the reason we go with everything, when the Millennium Falcon flies out of that asteroid and the huge asteroid snake monster bites after it, it's kind of ridiculous and hilarious, but we're invested with all of those characters, so we don't question it. There's a giant worm snake monster that apparently lives in asteroids. We didn't know that till just now, but here we are, folks. Right? We like... But I feel like if we're grounded with the characters and we invest in it, we'll actually go with almost anything that you throw at us. And Andor's not even giving us the things that would mess with our reality that much. Like, they don't have the random monster attack because they feel like they need a random monster attack. Even the tangent one-off, like, quest episodes or whatever, Cassian gets arrested at one point, which we're not expecting. And it's funny because everybody's looking for them, and they actually have him in custody, which is sort of...
He gets arrested by accident because he's in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he meets a bad cop.
That's right.
Why are you running? Why are you sweating? It's hot. What are you hiding?
But again, you're not seeing that coming, and then all of a sudden we have the prison episode and the prison escape thing, and they feel like bottle episodes, but they all have their own payoffs, and the story is still moving forward in a natural way. Plus, I thought it was a hilarious payoff that the Andy Serkis character couldn't swim. They organized this great escape off this floating prison, and the last moment he's like, right.
I mean, I love that they like had the courage to... Maybe he made it, maybe he doesn't. We'll probably never know.
Yeah.
And that's okay. They like do things like that in this. In the flashback episode, there's they say it's a Republic ship that crashes on the planet, and all the crew are yellow and like inflicted with some gas, and they say it's a Republic ship, but they're wearing the Confederate symbol. This is like from the prequels, but they're wearing the bad guy symbol, and they have some sort of, is it a bioweapon? What's going on?
They looked awful.
Mentioned.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of like, here's something. Here's a mystery. We'll leave you with that, and we have enough faith in our storytelling that We don't need to explain it to you. We don't need to.
Well, and the other thing that I like here is if for some reason people didn't show up for Andor, which they did happily, if it ended here, I wouldn't be like, oh God, why? Like, there's still threads of story to go, and there's still more that I'd want to know. But I'm not like left in this terrible cliffhanger bad space. What do you want from... Sorry, say again.
Oh, we can see where Cassian, at the end of season 1, would end up being that rebel agent in Rogue One who dies for the cause.
Which means, like, I think season 2 will have to, like, justify what more do we need to learn about Cassian, or maybe switch the focus to a different character for the second season as the main one, because we know where Cassian's going, which is he's sort of our safety net character here. I guess a good way to finish off is, what do you want from Andor season 2?
Well, I think Cassian is this throughout the first one. Cassian is like the cipher through which we see the rest of the characters and their actions. So I'm happy for Cassian to be, and unlike like Mandalorian season 3, where I'm like annoyed that the Mandalorian sidelined, I wouldn't mind if Cassian is just part of this larger ongoing plot. How Luthen organizes the rebellion, how Mon Mothma goes from working in the Imperial Senate and supplying credits to being the open, outright, declaring the rebellion, openly against the Empire, and being that woman that we see in Return of the Jedi giving the briefing.
No, there's more story for the rebellion. I'm just talking about Cassian specifically. I feel like we got that here.
Yeah, we got that. I don't think... it's hard to say where they'll go with him, but I believe him. I think their writing is so strong that they'll do it. Every line is great. Even there's one conversation Luthen has on a bus with this busybody. He's like, we used to be able to drive across the land, and now look how things change, And he like mentions to Luthen, like Luthen doesn't say, he's like, oh, I'm in this business, what do you do? He's like, oh, don't want to tell me. Never know who you're talking to these days. It's like, okay, like every line is building something. Like we see, like there's like an undercurrent of paranoia. There's someone in the Empire's secret service listening. You don't know who's listening. There's like a fear, paranoia that's like built in. So I think this, whatever they do with Andor, I think they can make it work in the second season.
They still let a little bit of sort of fun and humor leak in here and there. But there's nothing like goofy, and all due respect to Grogu, there's nothing cute about Andor.
No, B2's a little cute.
Okay, all right. I stand corrected.
Not in a distracting way.
In a different way.
Even he's essential. Even he is delivering Marva's message at the end. He's the little robot that starts the rebellion, basically.
And he's cute in a different way than Grogu. Give me that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he's not relying on big goo eyes and baby noises. Yeah.
So I think at 27 minutes we're agreed that we're big fans of Andor.
Yes, absolutely. Andor is so good. One more final point.
Bring it.
Andor is so good that I have literally 4 nitpicks with the entire show.
Bring it.
Right? Alright, so number 1. Young Cassian is enraged when his friend is like the girl he's sweet on is killed in the flashback, and he smashes the Republic ship, and it's like glass breaking. I'm like, I don't like that there's glass.
Right.
It shouldn't be like glass when you smash it. This is much worse than Star Trek, to tangent. But Worf falls through a glass floor. I think Worf, or one of the Klingons, falls through a glass floor at one point. I'm like...
Yeah, Star Trek's fake.
But... Yeah, bullshit. But anyway, so okay, I'm like, this is so. My nitpicks are so minor because I love this show so much. It's so good. Number 2, there is a scene where a TIE pilot is scrambling into his TIE. He lifts the hatch up. I'm like, that should be hydraulics. It shouldn't be like a lid. It shouldn't be lifting up. It should be like, And there's only one story beat which doesn't quite hit, and the character is Cinta. She's like an Indian actress.
Oh.
And in the finale, there's a undercover ISB agent, and she like kind of sneaks up to him and she like stabs him, and it's like, okay, she didn't really prevent him doing anything. He'd already given the information, and that was the only thing I felt like, well, his death doesn't impact the plot.
It gave her something to do, I guess.
It gave her something to do. She didn't really have much to do in that, and I think, considering how well executed everything else is, I'm very willing to forgive what one. It's very hard to find things.
Okay, A-, I guess.
No, it's so good. It pays so much respect to the established rules of Star Wars as well. The whole scene with the tractor beam and how Luther's ship escapes that is amazing. You know, and at one point early on, I was like, oh, they got that wrong in accordance to Star Wars, because Cassian gets on Luther's ship for the first time, and he's like, plot a jump to so-and-so, and then they fly off in hyperspace, and it happens really quickly, and then I'm like, oh, that's too quick for hyperspace rules as established in the original trilogy. But then Cassian goes, I've never seen a Hawcraft do that.
Ah.
Right? They call it out. They know it. And oh wait, okay, I'm sorry. I'll be done soon. A few more things. All the extras in Andor are doing something. There's something really lacking in especially the Kenobi show. You see them walk into a room and there's just extras walking, like, okay, you walk from stage left to stage right. They're just people walking aimlessly in the room. It makes it feel more fake. And in Andor, they're not doing that. There's always thought. There's thought in every scene.
It's the used, lived-in rebel world.
Yeah,
Sorry, it's not the royal opulent thing, the too clean vibe that they have in the other ones. I kind of like that this one's okay to get a little grittier and uglier.
Yeah, and they establish, like, we learn so much about the culture on Ferrix, the planet where Andor lives, right? There's like, they've got like little rituals. They've got their whole funeral rites. We learn about that. It all factors into the story. You know, even things like all the workers put their gloves up on the wall at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's just like all this, like, the guy bangs the bell to bring in work shifts or something. You know, we get so much baked into it, which I feel all the other ones are not thinking strongly enough about. That really just makes me, this is just why, parts of why I love it, why I get so much out of watching it.
No, I think the fact that it mainlines the vibe of the sort of desperate energy in Empire Strikes Back, but with a much more modern sensibility, it really does hit a sweet spot. The same sweet spot I will say that Rogue One was riding, by the way.
Yeah. I love every conversation. I love all the Imperial that talk in the room. I love that there's just one scene, it doesn't have to be like this, but Dedrick comes in and she's like, sorry, I was off-world. I just got the news. She comes in and she's like changing her outfit as she's talking, as they do. They're not just standing in a room statically chit-chatting. You know, there's every scene is full of motion, full of action, full of the characters doing something that teaches us about them and the world, and it's just so well done. And that's why I think it's the best thing Disney has done.
Okay, I'm going to chloroform you now here, so just relax and breathe deeply. Tomic, we did it. We made this deal a while ago. You said you needed to talk about Andor, and I was like, you bring me the violent sci-fi episode, I bring you the Star Wars episode. And here we are. And I have no regrets. I'm glad that it was you. Like I say, a lot of this was a fresh pass for me, or first pass for me. So, and there's a lot of hours of television here. So if you want a blow-by-blow and episode-by-episode hit on this, I'm sure there are other podcasts that will get much deeper into the mud here. But going at this like a season at a time like we did. I know what your number 1 is. I know what your number 6 is.
What? Was that obvious?
Yeah, no. You tipped your hand, my friend. But are we going to match? Are you going to be the new Rank and Review champion? You're going to piss Beckman off if that happens, because not only did you pick your own episode, which he always wants to do, and I've been telling him no, but you're going to steal his damn trophies. So let's do it. How would you rank these 6 limited Star Wars series? What was your least favorite and why?
All right, well, I apologize to the audience for my craze rantings. But anyway,
That's why you're here, dude.
out of it.
That's why you're here.
All right, so in last place is the Book of Boba Fett. It's fairly obvious. It's a failure of execution, I think, on all levels. For me, then next, I would put. So I think we will differ, because I would put Mandalorian season 3 5th. Well, we don't need to get into it, but I just, it's just not as good.
You sound sad. You sound sad as you talk about it.
Yeah, it is. It makes me a little unhappy. The first 2 are good enough, and I was, especially the first one, it just becomes something else, and it becomes the action figure thing. It loses itself for me. Then I'll put Kenobi.
Obi-Wan.
It's a mixed bag. The Kenobi Vader stuff's great, and everything else is not so great.
Right.
Then we've got Mandalorian season 2, and then Mandalorian season 1, and then Kenobi. Mandalorian
Andor,
gets worse as it goes along, but there's still something to like in those first 2 seasons.
Sorry, you had a little slip there. You said Kenobi for number 1. I'm fairly certain that you meant Andor.
Oh, sorry. I did mean Andor. Yes.
Unless I'm very much mistaken.
No.
Oh, well, that's a shame. We're incredibly close, but again, I'm not super passionate about it. I would have just switched Obi-Wan Kenobi with season 3 of The Mandalorian. So my list would be Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, Mandalorian 3, 2, 1, and then Andor comfortably, easily at number 1. So it's super...
So I'm not going to upset anyone, luckily.
No. Lee lives to fight another day. I'm not super passionate about that, but I guess I have more affection towards Mando Season 3 than you do, and Obi-Wan just had more sag to it for me personally. But minimal.
Ewan changes that for me. I'm like, I love Ewan.
Yeah.
I don't care so much about these people, but I love Ewan McGregor.
No, I will always love Ewan McGregor in a more than friends way.
If you let you. He's coming for you. Watch out.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, Ewan caught me by the eyes. And thank you so much for doing this. Say hello to everybody in Australia. Spread the word about Rank and Review. I appreciate you, brother. Anything you'd like to say to the good people on the internet before I sign us off?
No, just thanks for having me, and thanks for letting me get part of what I need to say out.
Well, and now I went from being uninterested in all of this to be like, when is there going to be more Andor? You bastard.
Yes, coming soon to Disney Plus.
They got us, the bastards. Thanks, brother. So there it was, long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away. Chris Tomic and Larry Parsons talked about Star Wars TV, and we're looking for feedback. So please let us know how we did at ranknreview@gmail.com. That's ranknreview@gmail.com. Check out the website at ranknreview.ca. Please check out the Rank and Review presence on YouTube. Throw some likes, subscriptions. Tell me how you would rank these episodes. Tell me how you would rank, other episodes of Rank and Review. Throw a like on your favorite episode. Throw a comment on your least favorite episode. Just throw your voice out there, because it's nice to know that there's people out there. I will be back in 2 weeks with another edition of Rank and Review. Until then, please maybe consider giving a listen to the Shelf Shedding Movie Show hosted by my friend Mr. Jason Dubray. He's a great fellow and he knows what he's doing. Until next I find your ears, be well, be kind, be warm, and thank you for your time.